Kveldstund er jeg.
Welcome back to another episode of The Depths of the Melody. My name is Tommy, and I had the honor of sitting down with Catherine from the band Sylvaine. And I'm so excited for you guys to see this. This was really great. Catherine is such a bright and amazing soul, and being able to sit down and just see how she processes music, life, everything is awesome. Also, Season of Mist has decided to give away her upcoming album. So, once this airs, you will have till the end of March to have a chance to win her latest album. So all you got to do is comment. Watch the video and comment. So buckle up, enjoy the ride, and let's go hang out with Catherine. Catherine, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day. I know you got tour going on. I know you are getting ready to release your fifth album.
It's my
Fourth.
no, it's kind of tricky because there's 4 albums out. There's also a split EP that I did back in 2020, and then this is the 6th release. Like just to put it out.
Oh,
I lose
okay.
track of the albums and what it's just like the 6th Sylvain release, basically.
Got it. Got it. So the sixth
Yeah.
album. Um, I know that I know you've been touring a lot. And so I know you taking time out of your day to sit down and talk with me about music, life, and everything in between. I really do appreciate it. And I like to focus on a little bit more like in-depth questions because I want your fans, your supporters, and people who maybe have never heard of you to be able to connect with you more. You know what I mean? So getting to know you. One thing that I really do appreciate since diving into your music, I feel like you walk to a beat of your own drum. Like you have kind of established yourself and you're just doing your own thing, which I really do appreciate. And I like how you've drawn inspiration from different kinds of music and you've made it your own,
Thank you.
and I can feel I can definitely feel a lot of heart and emotion from your music, which I think in this day and age, we need more authenticity and we need more people to not be afraid to open themselves up and be vulnerable a little bit and allow people to experience, you know, heart and change and soul. I think a lot of people can get stuck in this rut of we live for shock factor, and we want that instant feel good stuff.
Instant gratification. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like with what I've listened to in your music, I almost feel like it's so personal. Like, yes, you're singing, you're writing music for people to listen to, but I feel like you are like talking and singing to like you. Like if
Yeah.
you were standing in the mirror in these songs, they just feel
Mm.
deeply personal, which I appreciate.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. It doesn't really get more personal actually for me anyways. So yeah, that's true.
Awesome. All right, so this is the intro. Give me a brief history of how you got to this point for people who might not know.
Absolutely. I absolutely never take it for granted that people do know, because I come from a place of really having kind of struggled to launch this project because I was really not the most confident in music. I still struggle with it now. So I never take for granted that people know what I'm doing or who I am. So I'd gladly give you a little introduction to who I am. So basically, I come from a musical family. So my dad is a drummer. He was a professional drummer, did like nightclub circuits back in the States because he's American. He's from California and played professional for what, 30, 35, something like that years. My mom worked on the other side, like on the business side. She worked with like promoters, she booked like festivals, she worked in record labels. So it was like both sides kind of of the industry, the most business side, kind of behind the scenes thing and on stage performance and recording stuff through my dad. So it wasn't really surprising that I ended up also going down the musical path because it's something that was around me since I was a child. basically in my everyday life. So it was kind of like unthinkable to not have music as part of my life, because it's always been such a big thing that also connects my family, which is why I'm so close with my parents also, because we have this massive interest in common. So I think I was maybe around 14 years old when I really started to realize the value that this art form had in terms of being able to express myself and basically feeling like myself. Like I tell people that all the time, that if I don't deal with music, and when I say deal with music is either like play it, but maybe even more so create it, or like, just, working on playing guitar or just singing for myself, doing something creative, it makes me feel like myself. And I kind of started to realize that when I was in my teenage years. And since then, I kind of never looked back. I never had a plan B. I just decided very early on that, okay, we have to go for this. And it was hard because, like I said, I had like a lot of self-confidence issues. So be able to kind of push myself, it took quite a few years before I dared to like really take the step. But I started already like in high school, you can choose like directions you want to go here in Norway. And I chose like it was music, dancing, and drama. Like it was like a triquetra of the different
Hmm.
arts, but the music was the main focus there, of course. And then I ended up going to like this kind of boarding school. It's a Norwegian concept. Like when you want to, instead of doing a gap year between high school and college or university, you have this what's called like, it's called a folk high school, which basically means it's a boarding school. You go there and you live, and it's usually subjects that are a bit more creative based or like not as strict and structured, so that you can try stuff basically before getting into university. So I did that, and I did like the band was my major then, like so I got to play in a band every day. And my thought behind that was like, I need to see if my voice can actually do this. Like, so if I can go on tour and I can sing every day and see like if it works out. And then after that, I did 3 years of musicology at the University of Oslo, which I have a bachelor's degree in from that, because I just kind of wanted to deep dive into like the whole spectrum of music, like as
Hmm.
a listener, the history, the kind of music theory was a part of that. Of course, producing, composing, like all of it basically, because it's like something that's extremely well, it's been an interest that's always been very like all encompassing for me. So I had many years basically of schooling with this, and I also like through those years got classically trained as a vocalist. I was like my education is mostly classically based, which basically just means that I'm trained in the same way like an opera singer or any kind of thing. I'm obviously not an opera singer. I would never even dare to say that I'm remotely anywhere close to being that, nor do I actually want to be, so that's fine. But I have the same kind of education within the techniques and stuff like that. Otherwise, I do play a few other instruments. The first instrument I played was drums because my dad's a drummer. So he used to bring me to rehearsal and put me on the drum kit and go, have at it.
That's
And
awesome.
that was really fun. And I still love this instrument. I really don't play it much these days, which is kind of sad because it's something that's really, really fun and like a, outburst of energy kind of style instrument. And along the way, I also picked up bass, which I started learning on my own. I had piano lessons at school and like played piano, a bit of keyboard, stuff like that. And the last instrument that I really got into was actually guitar, which is kind of funny because it's become one of the most important things in my life. So I was usually composing on piano before I started with guitar back in like 2013, something like that. So, yeah, 2013, something like that. Yeah, when I started recording my first album is when I really started to properly play guitar, or like, my version of properly playing guitar. Because we all know that I ain't any like Steve Vai or anything like that, but like my version, and that's also fine. So yeah, I have through the years just been madly in love with music, and it's kind of like I always very like hopeless romantic dramatically explain as it's the only love that never left me, and it still feels like it's my safe haven and kind of like just me, a part of me. It's like in something that I can't deny. And if I take it out of my life, I think I would be a very miserable person. So that's the very long-winded version of who I am and how I got here. And so Sylvaine is a project. I started that when I was at uni back in 2013-ish. I started making my first album, Silent Chamber, Noisy Heart, which I released later in November 2014. I didn't tell anyone that I was making an album because I was dead set that I would fail. I was sure that I would fail at it, but I didn't, which is still
Hmm.
really. I managed to make it. I made it with my dad's. My dad played drums on that record, which was lovely. Like, I love the fact that I have this that I can always look back on, no matter, like how long in the future, and no matter who's here in person or not anymore. I'll always treasure having shared that first real big step in my musical career with him. And yeah, I recorded the whole album, the first album on my own. I engineered it, I produced it. I had no idea what I was doing. I just learned by doing, sat and like nerded on forums and like YouTube videos and tutorials to try to figure out what I was doing, and just using my ears to try to find the sound I was looking for. So that's why the first album is definitely a bit more of a patchwork album, because you have some songs there that are quite old and some that are newer, and me trying to find my sound, knowing what I want, but not knowing exactly how to achieve it. And since then, I just kind of haven't really stopped. I try to kind of keep, like, I see inspiration as this kind of source that flows through us. And it's kind of when you have that kind of, let's say, when it's a part of your personality, to open up for that and to have that run through you, it's also your responsibility to listen to it when it's here and to not kind of go, oh, I'll deal with that later. It's kind of like a shame to do that. So I try to let it speak through me, so to speak. Um, as much as I can when it's here. And therefore, I have ended up, when I look back now, I've ended up releasing things every 2 years since 2014, actually. So yeah, I
Can I
released.
just look? Can I just speak to this for a minute? Because
Yeah, yeah, of course.
I think you're mentioning something that is really important for just everybody to understand. I think we need to do things for ourselves.
Yes,
And a lot of times people, when they want to do something, they are thinking about the perception of others.
yes,
They're
yeah,
thinking about, you said I knew I was going to fail. And then in the grand scheme of it, now it's been years later, you look back and you go, hold up, I just made an album.
yeah, yeah.
In what world is that a failure? Even though it might be a patchwork of art, it is still art and it's still a reflection of your soul coming out. And I think that's the power of music. Music is like a diamond. It has
Yes.
many different facets and many different colors and changes. It's not really meant to be perfect.
Mm,
It's it's simply an expression of one's heart,
exactly.
And so I think to anybody, like just setting out to do something for yourself is
Mm,
so powerful.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
and so I just wanted to say that because a lot of people struggle with that. They struggle feeling like they can't do something because they're thinking about other people. Like, who gives a shit? Like, just
Yeah, of course. You're so right. I mean that, like, I think a lot of people intellectually get that concept of, like, it's just the same thing about, like, self-worth and self-esteem otherwise in life. That's like basically based on how other people perceive us, almost, more or less, and how, like, acceptance comes from within, like, yeah, we all understand that that's a good concept, and we all agree that we should be thinking like that. Somehow, as human beings, we're programmed to live in like a flock, together in society, and
yeah.
that means that we do care about what other people think about us. So when I said that I believe that I would fail with my first album, actually, I wasn't thinking about others. I was thinking about myself. I wasn't sure I would be
Mm,
able to physically do this. Would I be able to write
mm,
this? So I would be happy with it. Would I be able to record the instruments so they were worthy enough, like, of the expression that I wanted? So I was definitely really shook when it happened. And I sat there and I remember like sitting, listening to the album and just like, bawling my eyes out, going, oh my God, I can't believe I did it. Like after all these years of like hemming and hawing and wondering, like, am I enough really? And, do I deserve to try to kind of catch other people's attention with my story? And the answer, I think, is yes. Because as you said, Sylvain for me has always been my outlet for my most personal thoughts, emotions, and like a self-therapy thing. It's like an audio diary. Like, I love to call it that because that's literally what it is. And that's nothing special for me. Like, so many artists out there do it the same way. But it's just like an audio diary, and it's a part of my process of growing and getting to know myself, and also trying to, somehow put all these things that are growing inside of me into the world and hope that it can make other people feel as well. It doesn't have to be the same feeling that I felt when creating it or what I wanted to express, but just make them feel something. And I created Sylvaine basically because I'd done many projects before that. I'd done like, bands, I've been in a cappella groups, I've been in choirs, I've been in other kind of constellations and whatnot. But I always felt like it ended up taking a direction that I wasn't totally feeling. And I definitely felt that my most personal, intimate feelings didn't fit in those projects when I didn't quite feel it 100%. So it's also weird, when you have a band, if you're bringing something really personal to the table. I always felt that it was a bit strange to like kind of force others to play that music because it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I do now actually on stage. But at the same time, every time we're like playing, we start making new songs. We have this like awkward session where I sit on the floor, everyone sits on the floor, and I have to like talk about what these songs are about and try to make people understand more or less what we are trying to communicate to the audience. But anyways, I made Sylvain because I wanted a home for all of these most personal feelings and expressions. And I also didn't want to compromise.
Mhm.
Doesn't play well with others. Is the quote that goes there. No, it was basically just because I felt like what is the most true and direct way to give what is inside of me to a listener? It would be if I could do most of the stuff myself, so I don't have to worry about other people's needs and wants in my story, which is kind of a weird thing anyways. That's why I ended up playing all the instruments myself, except for like the drums, for example, where I know that my skill level isn't high enough. I did play the drums on several records, but not like the
Yeah.
full thing. So that's just has to do
It's
with being
it.
being able to say that I don't think that what I'm performing is worthy enough for the song, but still,
Mhm.
this want of keeping it personal is why I created Sylvain. And that's why I'm still going now. And people keep asking me, are you going to bring someone into the project? And I'm like, ooh, I don't know. Like, I'm not guest vocalist or guest people, like guest musicians, whatever. Sure, but I don't know. Have a hard time letting go, I think.
It's hard to let somebody. I mean, I'm the same way. I don't like to have a boss. I like to be in
Yep.
charge. And I it's hard to trust people with something like your heart. And
That's it.
because you are such a personal and you're such an expressive person that having somebody come in and really like, yeah, you need that special connection for somebody to go and almost like selfless, you
Yeah.
know, this is about your project. I believe in your project and I want to see your project succeed. You know what I mean? It's hard to find that.
That's what I found in my three live musicians I have now. They're like all very like vocal about the fact that we really believe in this project, we really love the music, and we are your vessel to communicate this with the
That's
world. And it
awesome.
makes me emotional to think about it because like it's not a given that you're gonna find people that can do that. So, which is why I hope I can hang on to them until we're all like old and gray.
Yeah, yeah. What's the what's Sylvain mean?
Good question. It's well, so first and foremost, it's the French first name. Sylvaine is how it's pronounced in French. I didn't know that when I took the name, actually. I was told afterwards that it's a French female name. It's also a butterfly. Also didn't know that. A very, bless its heart, it's a very, how can you say, gray mouse kind of butterfly. Not the most beautiful of the bunch, but that's okay.
Hey, they
But
still
for me,
fly.
they still fly. Exactly. They still do their thing and spread their joy through the world. So
Yes.
but what it means to me is basically I wanted a name that had the duality that is inevitably imprinted in the sound of my music. The duality between, light, dark, harsh, beautiful, ugly, beautiful, that kind of mm, duality and balance between opposite forces that are kind of, it's always been present in my sound because I really enjoy this as a listener of music too. And one of those opposite forces balance things is urbanity or humankind versus nature. That's nature has been a massive part in shaping me into who I am. It's a massive part of my life, massive part of my inspirational sources. And I tried living away from it when I was living in Paris for 6 years. Didn't work well. So I came back to Norway because nature is all around here. And how I wanted that to be reflected in the band name. So I wanted to kind of pay homage to, like, since I've been a teenager, I've been into poetry a lot, which is probably not surprising. Like a lot of artists are into that and get into that kind of thing early on. So that became the urban factor. So it's not exactly very like modern, but it's the urban factor. So I took the French poet called Verlaine. So Verlaine. I took part of his name and I merged it with the word Sylvain, which is like a creature or being of the pertaining to the
Mm.
forest, you know. So because there was a band already called Sylvain, because that was my first idea, because I liked this idea, and because I grew up, I have the forest literally like just 5 minutes away from me, and I've been like growing up going there very often. It's been a big part of my like childhood too. Even at school, we had like outdoor school in the forest. So I wanted to have that in the name because it has inspired me a lot. It's kind of like my safe place, like music is too. So I took Sylvain and I took Verlaine and I merged them together and it became Sylvain. So that's the meaning behind the name, basically.
That is awesome. I love that.
Thank you.
So I told you about, like, you gave the brief history, but this question, what I have to ask is probably the most important one of the whole thing, and we're hitting you right now, okay?
Hey,
It's super serious. Right.
scared.
So, do you remember which Spice Girls song blew your mind? It made you fall in love with music. I told you, it's heavy. Yeah, she can't even
We
handle
like
it.
do the explosion effects.
Yeah.
Ooh, I have to say there's one song. Okay, maybe it wasn't the song that got me into Spice Girls because
Hmm.
as a proud millennial woman, definitely they will forever live rent-free in my heart and my mind, as
Hmm.
well as Backstreet Boys. NSYNC, but Backstreet Boys for sure. But one song is still now when I think about it, I'm like, wow, it is so beautiful. And the lyrics is because it's like also family, which is really important to me. It's the song Mama from Spice Girls. It's not that known. It wasn't that famous yet,
Yeah.
but it was really beautiful. I think it's called Mama. Anyways, I hope it's called Mama. It's really beautiful. It has like a really nice chorus that just says, Mama, I love you. So it's like it's really, I don't know, it's like sweet. I'm very sentimental as a person. So, but even as a kid, I was like, oh, that's so beautiful. I don't know. But of course, I mean, the one that hooked everyone, I think, was Wannabe, right? I mean,
Yeah, yeah. There's a few I remember.
it's just like all the millennials are just like, what? You know,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh yeah. But that's a
Well,
good question. I've never been asked that. Very good job.
well, what was Spice Girls? You start out with them. What did that lead you to then next on your musical journey? Because this is like we're building a ladder to where you are
Yeah,
today.
sure.
So
Of
the,
course.
the first the first step was, I guess, Spice Girls.
One of them.
What was like the next one?
Okay,
A big
so
one.
basically another big one, same era, same kind of, like first grade at school, 6, 7 years old, kind of 8 years
Yeah,
old,
yeah.
was Hanson's, which is another like, the family. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
forever in my heart again.
Oh my God. I was in fifth grade when that came out.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, we're old now. That's
Oh my
basically.
God. Wait, when did it come out for you?
I'm not quite sure which year was that. Like, I
Oh
don't
my God,
remember.
fifth
Maybe
grade.
in the
So,
90s.
okay, well, I'm 36.
Yeah, I'm 30. Oh my, wait, I'm checking. I'm 33 soon.
Okay,
32.
okay.
33. So it's not that far off.
It's probably like third grade for you or something.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But that blew my mind. I was like, oh, for me, you know what did it for me? It was the harmonies because for
Mm-hmm.
over forever, even now, my favorite part in music is working with harmonies. Like, I mean, even in Sylvain, layering is like my favorite thing to do.
Oh.
Part of that is obviously the harmonies, vocal harmonies. I can listen to it all day long and be just satisfied with that. So
Hmm.
I think that, or actually the first, never even thought of that. Here, you're bringing stuff into my mind. The first band that really used that because they were like, three brothers, so their voices were quite nice together, and
Hmm.
the harmonies were just like, wow. Same thing. There was another song there that was like a hit on that record, on the first record that they released that I can't remember the name of, but anyways, called Yearbook. And it was about a kid that disappeared or something. It was like really sad. Again, from a kid, from an early point of view, from an early stage. Obviously, I was very sentimental, be liking the songs that were more sad on that record. But that's another one. So yeah,
I'm
it
the
was,
same way.
yeah, that's nice that I'm alone in this kind of,
I love sad music because I want to feel something.
yeah.
It makes me appreciate things in a
It makes me,
weird way.
yeah, I feel like sad music sometimes really makes me happy. And I guess it's because it makes me Yes, like you said, appreciate things or realize the worth of things because you can't have a feeling like melancholy without having the most beautiful thing at the same time. You know, you wouldn't have the feeling
Mhm.
of longing for something or like sadness for something if you never had the good thing to begin with.
Yeah.
So it's always lights with the dark, no matter what situation we have. So, but I digress. So it was Spice Girls and then Hanson's really, I love them. I was obsessed. I'm very obsessive as a person and obsessed with them. They were my first real big
Hmm.
obsession. And then quite quickly from there, I went into my new obsession, which was Aerosmith. So I loved Aerosmith, still love Aerosmith to this day. Have some very nice concert memories with Aerosmith. And from there, I kind of like went into more like melodic rock. Like, I loved Journey, I loved Aerosmith, I loved like, Def Leppard, like a White Snake, all this kind of like going towards a little bit into the glam thing too. Like not
Yeah,
like
yeah. I was big in Foreigner. Did you ever listen to Foreigner?
Foreigner as well. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Classic.
all those like classic bands. I mean, I feel like they're classics for a reason, like
Hmm.
there's a reason why their music is still being played now. So basically, yeah, I kind of got into the more melodic rock, classic rock. Then it started to gonna go a bit more heavy, like I liked Maiden or things like that. And it eventually developed into, of course, again, being a millennial, I can't get away from like new rock and stuff like that. That obviously bands like Korn, Evanescence, Linkin Park. I wasn't like massive fans of those bands, but they still were a big part of my upbringing and like
Mm.
getting like a harder, kind of more harsh, harder, whatever sound.
Yeah.
But then from that kind of thing, it quite quickly went into like more gothic rock, and then I kind of went more over to like Joy Division, Susie and the Banshees, that kind of stuff, and The Cure, that whole thing, Bauhaus,
Mm.
and that's brought me to heavier and heavier stuff, leading me to like my favorite band ever, Type O Negative, that then led me into like shoegaze and like dream pop and all of these bands that have become like massive things for me, like Cocteau Twins, like Slowdive, My Bloody Valentine, like the Chameleons, all of these, this whole like Dead Can Dance group of things. And from there, I went into black metal. So it was like quite a long. I didn't get into like
Mm.
actual metal before. I was quite like I don't know, maybe 19, 20, like into my a bit more into my adult years, versus a lot of my friends started with that kind of around 15, 16, 14. So, but yeah, I came from classic rock basically, from super millennial pop to like classic rock and melodic rock into gothic or like dark wave
Mm.
and gothic rock, and then from there into whatever Type O Negative was classified as, and then into more heavy territory and doom and stuff like that.
Typo. Yeah, yeah. You black metal has always been I have such an appreciation for that style of music, but dude, I had a really hard time getting into it. But I'm a very persistent person. Like
Me too.
when I want something or when I want to see something or I want to understand, I will keep pounding at the door till I get in. So black metal has been more of a recent thing. I know about black metal, I know black metal bands, but I just had a hard time getting into it. Dude, didn't really start getting into black metal and really appreciating or finding bands I liked till I was like in my 30s.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I'm happy to hear
So
we're in the
yeah.
same boat, like
Yeah.
and it has to be said, it's not the most accessible genre, so it's not like super surprising, but it like you said, it takes maybe a little bit of perseverance to like try to keep going and like to try to unlock to gain the keys to understand this kind of expression.
Yeah.
So
Exactly, and I think a lot of bands understand that. They know
yeah,
it's isolating. So
yeah,
they
yeah.
got to add some things to it to help the average viewer or listener to get into it. One thing you said it already, and I feel like I might know the answer, but you said that you view your musical journey, your albums and everything as a almost like a diary, which I think is really cool that you said that. I relate to that a lot with my own personal journey. Going back and looking at things and I go, where was I at? What was but anyway, so I was gonna say, what do you think? Which album do you feel was like the toughest to make? But I feel like probably your first because it was such a learning experience, the patchwork, trying to understand. But where would you say, or what would you call the chapter of your life, the diary entry of your life now with your latest album? Where are you at in life with this new album? And what would you call this time of your life right now?
The phoenix rising from the ashes or the rebirth. I would
Mm.
say. Because it's funny, the first album definitely was a challenge to make because I didn't, I mean, I didn't know myself as well as I do now because music has also allowed me to get to know myself on a way deeper level and to be able to articulate what I believe in this life, which when back then I had the same exact feelings that I have now, but I couldn't tell you like uh, what I was writing about. Now I can. Um, and basically it wasn't the hardest one to make. The hardest one to make for me was Nova, the my last record. So album number 4, but release
Hmm.
number 5.
Hmm.
Because it was an album that basically accompanied me through probably the hardest part of my life so far. And I always have a hard time saying that because I know so deeply that I'm a person that's privileged. I live in freaking Norway. That's a very protected society. I know I have a good family around me. I have wonderful friends around me. I have like a good support system around me. So I know that I'm privileged. But nevertheless, I try not to belittle my own experiences. It was the most challenging time of my life so far, back in 2019 and 2020. So taking that and trying to process all of that and putting it into, again, a worthy expression and making it into an album was really hard. And it took me a long time. Sometimes I had to take a step back from the music and I was just, this is too much. I just can't do this. And I remember one period I think I had like 4 months off where I didn't touch the material at all in 2020 because it was just too much and I was trying to rebuild because I was fucking broken back then. Therefore, Ega Framan, this release, even though it has a kind of concept behind it that's specific in that it's a a homage to my Norwegian roots and the traditional Norwegian folk music.
Hmm.
At the same time, it speaks about the main pillars that have always been there in Sylvain. And I really feel like it's the rebirth. Like Nova was the death. Nova was the death of something. It was the end of an era. It was everything must come to an end, as the last track is called. And you saw glimpses of what comes next there. You could see it as you could see the new door opening and you could see the light starting to shine through, but you can't quite, something is in the way still. You can't quite open it. Whereas Ega Framand is the moment when you actually open it and the light just kind of takes you. That's how I see this new release. And um a bird finally being able to soar, no longer being trapped in the cage. That's what this chapter represents for me.
Dude, wow. Um, it made me think of this analogy, which you were talking about pillars and foundations. There's this really great analogy that, everybody wants to be a kite, right? A kite, you can just soar and go as high as you can. But the thing about a kite is if you don't have something to hold the string, you're going to go up high and then you're going to crash really bad. And people don't want to be tied to something because they feel like it hinders them. But that thing that ties them could be many things. It could be a personal conviction. It could be a personal belief. It could be a foundation or something. And it's very interesting because I see that that's what came to mind when you were talking about this time of your life, where, especially when we go through really tough things like that, it can feel so isolating because those hard times can almost swallow you up and keep and give you like tunnel vision. Like you're never going to get through this. This
Yeah,
is all you're ever going to know. And that is like some of the biggest lies ever
it
because
is.
we keep waking up.
You do.
We keep, you know what I mean? So I think that was yeah, that's really cool that the way you were like sharing that and telling that. I think a lot of people, so many people out here are so broken and so lost and they're lonely. And I feel like people that can use a platform or anything, like you're writing music that is from your soul, but your stuff is reaching out and touching thousands of people's lives and you go to bed at night and that's a very interesting thought to think about. Like when somebody comes up and says, "Hey, this song that you wrote, oh my God, it really sparked something in me." It's a surreal feeling like this affected you? Like what? And it's you almost got to chew on it for a little bit to really think that yes, we're alive to let our soul burn and let it be seen, but it is truly not a selfish endeavor
Yeah.
because even though what we're doing may be selfish because we're working on us, if we're true to ourselves, that is going to affect other people, you know? And yeah, I think that's an amazing thing. I think that you have a just a great perspective of life and oh, I'm excited. I'm excited for this new album. I'm really excited for what's coming. You were talking about growing up in Norway. You love the forest. Now, did you ever like dive into like folklore or anything, or was it just pretty much I just love the forest?
Well, actually, we're taught about the folklore in school and everything here. Just like
Hmm.
uh, at music school here in Norway, also taught about like all the whole black metal scene and all this. I mean,
Hmm.
all the stuff that's a part of our cultural heritage. So of course we know like the Norse mythology, and we've been going through that and like different gods and deities and stuff like that. But I would be lying if I said that it's been an important part of my life because it hasn't. I always thought it was interesting, and I always thought that folklore in general is super interesting, and the fact that
Yes.
how it evolves over time and like how it's passed down from person to person. But it's a bit like the folk music, folk art in general, folk related medias are just like um I don't know, it's interesting how it's basically people bring it to life and they keep it alive, but it doesn't exist somehow. I just like it's a weird concept. So like Norse mythology and stuff hasn't been important in my musical career.
Hmm.
It has been a defining part of my life. I can't really say that, but I do find it interesting, and I have learned about it a bit in school and done some research on it, of course, on my own. Um, so yeah, it's definitely a part of our cultural heritage as well. But yeah, not something that has been very like inspirational for me when I've been writing music, especially. So not yet, anyways. Who knows?
Yeah, I was curious because I've talked to a few other people like from Sweden, whatever, and I've asked them very similar things because you guys and myself included, like I love nature, I love the forest, and I was wondering if there was any connection to maybe the mythos or anything. But a lot of the times it's like, no, I just really love the connection of nature, the beauty of it and everything, which I was kind of curious if you had anything or um your upcoming album, you've released the latest video. What is what's a song on this album? And if you can tell me, what's the name of a song that like I know you love all the songs, but what's one song that maybe you're really excited for people to hear?
Oh, excited for people to
You're like,
hear.
"Oh, I love them all, but I can't wait to hear what people say about this one."
Well, okay, actually depends on who you ask. If we're talking about the Norwegian crowd, I would be very curious to hear what the Norwegian people that have heard this song in a million different versions, because it's one of the most, I think, maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like it's one of the most recorded folk music, like traditional pieces. The Eg veit I himmelrik ei borg. It's the third track on the record, but I'm quite sure that nobody has heard the version of it like this. So
Hmm.
I'm curious to see like people that know this song, that sing it, that has sang it in church, because they're all religious, these tracks, even though I'm
Huh.
not religious myself.
Hmm.
They all are coming from a religious context, but I changed the lyrics to kind of take the religion and God and Jesus out of it, out of respect
Hmm.
for people that do believe in it, because I don't.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, basically, I would be very curious to see what they have to say about this version, because obviously I also added like a whole middle part of that song that doesn't exist at all. It's my own composition.
Yeah.
We're talking about in general. I think I would be very. It's hard actually, because as you yeah, I'm gonna go. I love them all.
Yeah.
They all me, but I guess maybe the one that is because it's my own composition, and because it is has so many things in it. It's the fourth track called Livets Dans. I'm really happy with the song, and I had so much fun making it. It's like really like what can I say? It was a real journey creating this piece. And it only has like, what, 4 lines of lyrics throughout the whole thing. Everything is just like made up like blah blah syllable languages. But yeah, it was really cool to make, and like all the vocal harmonies and stuff. I really love this. But I guess the track that's just made this whole thing possible, which will forever be one of the tracks, including my own music that I'm writing, um, that's closest to my soul, and that is the title track, Ega fra Aans. Because I know it's can be a tough pill to swallow for some people, like a 5-minute track with a person literally just standing in a church singing. There's nothing else. It's just that. It's an a cappella piece. I played this or sang this song live on occasions when I felt like it was the right moment. And it's so weird, like from North America to other places around Europe, the same reaction seems to happen with this specific song. Even if people don't understand the lyrics, now they can because they can read the translation. Translation of the title is I am a stranger or I'm a foreigner. And it always goes dead silent. And people are like, and I feel like this song has something special. It's this, I didn't write it, but it has something that I can't describe. And when I first heard it, it was like a slap in the face. And I was just like, what was that? And I'm curious to see if some other people that haven't heard me perform this live, if they have the same feeling when it's recorded. Because I debated a long time with myself. I went back and forth between, should I keep this as like an ephemeral thing that's kind of here and now and it lives sometimes and otherwise it's just like, you know, in the ether, or should I actually eternalize it by recording it? And I wasn't
Yeah.
quite sure. For a long time I was like, not sure I want to have this as a recording. But then, yeah, I don't know. I did the opportunity kind of, I had the opportunity to record it in the right place. And I think that unlocked it. I was like, okay, this is a church that I used to sing in high school. So I have a connection with it, like sentimentally, because as I said, I'm a very sentimental person. And it's a worthy place for this song to live on forever. You know, it has that sacred feeling. Even if, again, I'm not religious, it just felt worthy. So I was like, okay, if it's done like this, we can do it. So maybe that one, I guess. It's not even my song, but it's just, or my piece. There's something with this song that I can't get over it. Even now, when I sing it, it makes me tear up. And I've had it in my life now for like many years. And there's something with that song. I just can't put my finger on it. So curious to see if other people might have similar feelings with it.
I'm excited for it. I'm especially after talking with you today. I'm like, oh my God, I'm even more really excited. Um, your the video that you dropped. Um, I had a friend of mine who speaks Norwegian, and he sent me it, and he's like, hey, he said, try to like get this down, and you'll impress her if you can say it right. And I tried to listen to it, and I'm like, I'm sorry, Scald, I failed you. Um, the what was the inspiration behind the video, the visuals, the enchanting dance, the music, everything? Like, was there, I don't know, tell me a little bit about the video if you don't mind.
Of course. I was quite sure from the beginning that I wanted to make a video for this track because, again, this one was, it's funny because when I was looking for the traditional pieces to record for this EP, I knew that Ega Framman, the last one, was going to be the kind of main pillar of it. And then Eg veit ikke Himmelrike, the third one that I talked about in the last segment there, I known it since I was a kid, so I was like, it'd be interesting because it has kind of like a melancholy melody to it. And I was like, I wonder how if we darken this, what can it sound like? But this song, Dagsens auga sluknar ut. Yeah, it's hard to pronounce.
Since
I have to say, it's a weird dialect, even
Narut.
for, it's like an old-fashioned weird dialect, even for us Norwegians. I was like, how do you say this? You're not alone. But yeah, it's one that I just discovered literally last year before recording this EP. I discovered it in April last year, and I wasn't even sure I wanted to record it. I found the melody quite haunting, and I was like, I don't know. I kept going back and forth, like, should I include this? Should I not? I love the meaning behind it. It's really nice, but I don't know. And then, like the first day I was recording in the church, I had done the two other pieces and the main vocals because I kind of the concept behind the record was to keep it organic and therefore only doing like one take shots and trying to like live with imperfections that would be there, like some small
Brilliant.
edits, but mainly not the way that I usually work. But I wanted this to be different, so I tried to keep it organic and like let it be perfect while being imperfect. And I was like, I still have some time. Okay, let's try to record this one. And it became like one of my favorites of the record. It was a one-shot take. At the very end of the day, I was like, there we go. So I knew that I wanted to make a video for this one, and it speaks about having a guiding light through life. The title translates to the last moments of day fade away. So, and it can be like a metaphor of like the last moments of your life, basically, like, going into eternal sleep. And, it talks about how in the original, it talks about how God is your guiding light and like, please embrace me and guide me through life and then bring me back home when it's my time, that kind of thing. Shine your light through my grave so I can find my way back home to you. So of course I removed the religious content and I focused more on the spiritual side because I have a very strong spiritual belief that's not rooted in organized religion. So I call it the being of lights or like, that kind of thing instead of God. So that's what the song is about, like having this guiding light and um, also like how basically when oh, it's so hard to talk about this because this project is a project that revolves around spirituality, Sylvaine, I mean. And to keep this very short, and it's always super weird to talk about it because it sounds weird, it sounds pretentious, it sounds crazy maybe to some people. But my spiritual belief is basically based around the fact that our, call it soul, doesn't belong, it doesn't come from here. It's not from this place. This is not the plane that we belong to. We come from somewhere else, a higher place somewhere. I don't know where. We can call it the place, the plane of lights. I don't know, something like that. And we're born into this world to learn and to experience and to gain knowledge and feel, basically. And we're by doing so, of course, you're put into a body and you're kind of limited to the senses we have in this body on this plane. And therefore, it kind of can create this disconnection with what and who you truly are beyond this vessel that we're in right now. So basically, when I talk about rebirth, it's also like maybe realizing or once again embracing the gift that this life is and the chance you have to be born into this life, even if it brings that disconnection and it can bring difficulty and longing and things that you can't really change because it's just a part of who you are at your core and you're not at home.
Mm.
And basically, there's a few things that can reach, like for me at least, that can really bring you back into that kind of state of feeling connected to that other plane. Nature is one of them, which is why it's such an important part of my life. Art is also another one of those things. It's incredibly human, but also incredibly not. It's incredibly ethereal in nature. And in art, one of those art forms that I feel can really be a liberation process and be a guiding light, I guess, also somewhat, is dancing. So the idea of this video was that I wanted to first show a character that was kind of shedding layers. So going from kind of being weighed down by something and gradually being able to shed off the layers. And in this case, it's the guiding light within that is liberated when I dance and when I move. So the dance is like the tool to kind of be one with yourself again and to where this plane marries with the plane that's beyond and allows you to feel free and to free you and to liberate you. So I know how this sounds. Like I'm aware, and I'm never the kind of person that wants to push my belief system on anyone else. And I know that it sounds a bit like woo-woo for some people, which is why I don't like to talk about it, actually. That's why I make music about it and somehow still have to talk about it, of course. So the idea behind the video was that, and wanting to capture it in nature, of course. In this case, it was in the moor of England, in Devon.
Mhm.
That is at the same time um, extremely beautiful and comforting because it's nature. It's also incredibly harsh and like desolate, and it has like beautiful, again, duality within it that I just felt like it was a really the perfect place to make this. So yeah, that was basically the thought behind this video.
I would not overthink your expression on what you believe because that is more, people relate to that more than you realize. And
Maybe.
especially people that aren't necessarily, they don't walk a organized religious path. We all, I believe, a lot of us, I know myself included, I have a feeling of, um, I hope that there's something beyond just,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And so, and I have little things inside of me that makes me go, You know what I mean? So no, I don't think what you said is crazy at all. Like it's actually refreshing. So keep in
Thank
mind that people connect and relate to you more than you realize when it comes to that kind of stuff, you know? I did have one final question that I would like to ask you, and this is like I ask everybody this, and
Okay, cool.
yeah, yeah. But before we close it out, this has been yeah, this is I love doing this because I go in and I don't expect anything, and I don't know how the conversation is going to go. I don't know how it's going to go or anything. And this has been very refreshing. And I just being able to talk with you and you being vulnerable to open up a little bit, I think just makes everything that I've discovered about you and the people that are going to watch this, what they know about you is going to be even more enriching because my whole thing is on my platform, and it's weird to say that because like I feel like a very tiny person, you know what I mean? Like I feel very like um I just want to see people succeed. I just want to see people. I don't I just love I kind of feel like a shepherd or something. I want people to go, hey, look at what I discovered. Now go. Go check it out. That's kind of how I am. And I've always been that way, you know? And so this has been just a really like amazing conversation that you I really appreciate it so much. And I took a lot of things that you said about yourself and everything apply to me personally. So I'm sitting here and I'm feeling what you're feeling as you describe things. I'm like, oh my God, like
That's so
I
cool.
feel this. So I wanted to ask, let's say, pretend with me. Let's just pretend. We're 30 years in the road. We're 30 years down the road. You're 60 years old. You lived a great life, 65, whatever, 70. And Sylvain has been a hit. You've created great memories, great music, great albums. What's one thing that you hope to hear from people that walk up and talk to you and they talk about how your music affected them? What's like one thing that you really hope translated to them? What's something you hope to hear?
Hmm. I spend my life saying the same thing actually when people ask me about what I hope from my music. Not maybe that far in the future. I'm not about that yet. But the only thing I ever could ask for and that I ever dream of when releasing this into the world, when I take something that's so personal and I kind of give it away and it's like, this is yours now. Do with it as you want, like, as you wish. I just truly want to make people feel. And that sounds kind of abstract and it sounds a bit weird to say that, but it doesn't have to be, as I said, it doesn't have to be the same thing that I initially felt while creating it, or like, a hope of them feeling the same thing as me, but just making people feel, and maybe more than anything, make people feel seen. Like, make people feel seen and comforted and like not alone in their emotions. And even if it's the was mirroring the same emotion that I had when I created it or not, just that kind of like feeling seen. That's something everyone in the world wants. And if my music can be a part of that for someone, that would be the most valuable thing for me ever, I think.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's really there you have it. I love talking to her. I thought it was so awesome and just such a good time and being able to see behind the veil of how Catherine processes music and everything. This was cool. I hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you so much for being here. I know that you guys could be anywhere else, so I appreciate it and I don't take it lightly. You guys spending time with us here. As always, stay lovely, stay metal. Oh, remember, you can find me and Catherine on Instagram. So go show her some love and yeah, good luck on the giveaway. Like I said, all you gotta do is comment down below and you'll get a chance to win her latest album, which I'm super excited about. Stay lovely, stay metal. All right. I love your face. And until next time, we'll be back with another episode.